Hey guys, and welcome to the latest in the SleepyTalk podcast. Now, we are joined with the one, the only PT64.
How we doing, guys? How we doing? Back at it again?
Yeah, a bit of a mini hiatus, but can't be helped. But we
I'm here now.
move on. Yeah, he's here, and that's he was with us in spirit.
Always.
Nice little pun there.
Always.
Nice little fun. And then, of course, the special, now recurring guest. It is Mr. Stitch Films. Hello.
Hi. How?
Thanks
for having me back.
Thanks for coming. Honestly, we're running out of ideas here. We need all the help we can get. Last time we spoke about your films.
Mm-hmm.
And you did say in the last one, if you want me back to talk about some spooky wookies, then bring me along. And I was like, do you know what? That's 2 weeks worth of content, that. Thank you very much. Round of applause.
Claps.
Yeah. So, obviously, you've seen my sort of only kind of spooky wookie experience, like, that's been recorded. That's a nice cat there that just jumped up.
Yeah, sorry.
Instantly grabbed the tail, pushed it down. Don't worry. We're all inclusive on this podcast. If Luna makes an appearance,
you wish she'd make an appearance. As soon as I stop talking, she's like, sit a bit.
Yeah.
He's getting loud, I'm out.
So, you've seen, I think you've both seen it, actually. It comes down to it. And
yeah.
It's the only one that I've had recorded. Whereas, I don't think you had anything recorded, did you, James?
No. I don't have anything. No proof, as it were.
Yeah, but we do take people at face value on this podcast, and we're all inclusive. We are. So if you say you've been attacked by the spooky wookies, then god damn it, I will find them.
I'll get them.
Yeah.
I've got you. Okay.
I still remember when you were telling me about that one that were chasing you. Oh, the chills. The chills. I was like, why didn't you get that bass guitar and wrap it round its skull?
I mean, at that point, we didn't have the instruments at that time. That was a different time. Yeah, I used to watch the shop with the instruments. That was fun. I used to enjoy that. Was it like a jam on the way to the show? No better time.
Yeah, no better time. I don't think I've ever seen it. I've carried guitars down the street, but they've always been locked away.
Oh yeah. Not on the strap.
No.
Not on the strap. Someone rocking out while walking down the street.
Yeah.
It's kind of thing where you think, who are these mentalists over here? But
yeah,
I suppose we're not chilling with pigeons, so we're all right.
So yes, going to the main event. It is Mr. Stitch, who kindly sent along some videos. Has actually provided evidence of his spooky wookie time. But if you want, let's start at the beginning. Like, let's ignore this evidence that we've got. And what we'll do is we'll sit down, we'll crack open a tin, and we'll just chill out and listen to these stories. So, wherever you want to start.
Okay. Well, just thinking back, I can't remember sort of my earliest instance of something happening, but I remember as a kid in the house that I grew up, I was just always very uneasy with the house. Like me and all of my siblings, that we didn't like the house that we grew up in. It's weird because when I was about 15, 16 years old, it didn't bother me at all. Like, nothing ever seemed to happen when I became a teenager, from what I can remember. I mean, things still did happen, but not to me. But as a kid, I just remember being absolutely terrified of the house. During the day, I'd never go upstairs by myself. I'd wait for someone else to go up, and I'd go up behind them, and if I needed something from my bedroom, I'd grab it quickly, run back down the stairs. There was just something very uneasy about the house. I remember, I think maybe one of the earliest memories I have is being scared and turning on the landing light from the downstairs, running up as fast as I can to get something. And I thought to myself I was going to be brave, and I noticed another light was on in one of the other rooms, and I quickly turned that off. I went downstairs and I went to turn the light off down for the landing downstairs. And as I turned round, the light that I just turned off in the bedroom was back on again.
Oh,
And I just sort of, I remember thinking to myself, I was just so scared. I just ran into the living room where mum and dad and everyone else was, and just stayed in there for the rest of the evening. And I'd always wait for my other brother and sister to go to bed before I'd go up to bed as well. And
okay.
I used to kick off and play up quite bad if it came to my bedtime, because I was the youngest. I was the first one that had to go to bed.
Yeah.
So I hated having to then go upstairs by myself. So there was always a routine of flicking the landing light on, running upstairs, running to my bedroom, turning that light on.
Yeah.
There was just something very unsettling about the house. Very, very unsettling about it.
Yeah.
I think my sister, she used to experience things. To be honest, I'm pretty sure every one of my siblings has experienced stuff. My mum has, my dad has, but my dad's a big skeptic. So anything he experienced, he tried to explain it away. He doesn't believe in ghosts. But then he'd say this thing. The funny thing was he'd experienced something in the house, and then he'd explain it away, but then talk about it like, yeah, that was really weird though. Like I can't quite explain that, but ghosts
my dad was similar.
But ghosts aren't real. They're not real.
Yeah, my dad was so similar to that. It really was exactly that. He'd tell ghost stories, actual legitimate ghost stories, experiences he's had with ghosts firsthand, and then he'd tell that. But because he couldn't, he's one of those people who couldn't control it. He's like, no, it can't have been. This is what I saw, but it can't have been. And it's like, no, but you saw it. Nah, it can't have been. But you saw it. It's exactly that person.
Oh, I must have been tired, or it was a trick of the light, or
so many things. Yeah, so many things. And even like when it had creeped him out as well, and he's like, oh, that was horrible. But it's like, no, you can't just pass it. Like, no.
Yeah.
So,
they used to say things like mum and dad when they were home alone. The amount of times they said my mum would hear my dad's voice shout her, and she'd get up, go downstairs, and she'd be like, what do you want? He'd be like, what do you mean? She'd like, you just called me. And he's no, I didn't. And she'd be like, yes, you did. You just called me. And he'd be like, no, I didn't. And then they'd get into a bit of an argument, and she'd storm back off upstairs. And then other times, my dad would hear my mum call him, plain as day. He said numerous times he heard my mum shout at him. And it wasn't like for my mum, her name's Helen. And only person, obviously, that'll be around to call her will be my dad, because he used to shout hell. He used to call her hell. So she said the amount of times she'd hear someone shout hell, and she said it was unmistakable. I heard that voice, and my dad his name's John, and he'd hear her shout to him like John, and he'd get his hair off because he'd be doing something. Then he'd go and find my mum, and
that's mad.
Typical bloke.
oh yeah.
What do you want?
Yeah, I've just sat down.
We're always grumpy when we get shouted, but we constantly shout. Constantly, I do anyway. Come here. The second she's like, come here, I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
Oh,
do I have to get
in
up?
the middle of something here?
All men are the same.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So, so you were saying, lost my train of thought, but I know what I've caught it. I've got a very good way of catching that. Right. So you said that you'd kick off around bedtime.
Yeah.
And there were times that you'd sort of, something spooky had happened, you'd run into the living room.
Yeah.
So did you just shut up when you went into the living room? Did you just go in there and just sit down, or was there discussions? I know you said your family have all had something happen to them, but was it just sort of like the known thing? So if you ran in looking scared, everyone knew what had happened, but you just sit there and just carry on doing what you're doing.
Do you know what? I can't actually remember. I mean, there were times that we did talk about stuff, and I remember as a kid crying a few times from things that have happened in the house, but I don't ever remember always telling them if something happened. I remember once, many times, I used to come out of my bedroom and see the back end of a black dog that used to go into my mum and dad's room I used to always catch the back end of it going to my parents' room. And the amount of times I told my parents about it and they didn't believe me because my sister had a black dog, but she didn't live at home at the time. And I used to think, oh, Ben's here. That was the name of the dog. And then I'd go in my mum and dad's room and then there'll be nothing there. I'm like, that's weird. I'm sure I just saw Ben go in the room. So I tell my mum, she'd be like, oh, okay, cool. Another story from Anthony. And then many years later, my brother's partner was living with us and they said to my mum and dad, I saw a black dog upstairs. And they went, Anthony used to say he saw a black dog. I'm like, oh, now you believe me.
And there recording going, vindication.
Yeah. I hate when one other person goes, I saw this. And it's like, oh, yeah, I believe it now.
Yeah.
And you're like, what?
Yeah, I think one of the... Now, you're ready for this? Ready for this story?
I'm ready.
This is probably the most terrifying thing that's ever happened when I lived in that house. Was just one evening, gotten into bed, I was sharing a room with my brother at the time, and I'd just gotten into bed, and I rolled over to face the door, and there was this black figure stood in front of my door, and I was staring at it, and I was saying to my brother, Christopher, turn the light on. And he was like, oh, shut up, go to sleep. I was like, Christopher, will you turn the light on? I don't know why, but I didn't say to him there's something in the room. I was so scared. All I could say was turn the light on. And this figure was like just staring at me, and then it opened its arms up like that to me. And it was like I could see that it was like shreds of fabric, like it was wearing a cloak, like a ragged cloak. And I was like, Christopher, turn the light on. And he went, shut up. So I turned over to face the wall, and I turned back immediately, and it was next to my bed. And I screamed and ran for the door. And for some reason, my brother-in-law, who was living with us at the time, heard me shouting and stuff. And he thought it would be funny, not knowing what was going on, to stand outside the door. And I pulled the door open and he went, boo! And that was it. I just ran, jumped back on my bed, and I was sobbing. I remember just absolutely sobbing. I was terrified.
What in your bed?
I know, but to be fair, he didn't know what was going on in the room at the time. And I've mentioned this numerous times to my parents, even like probably last year I mentioned it because I always talk about this thing because it had to be the most terrifying experience I had in that house.
So that's the sort of thing that would give you like PTSD and stuff, though, isn't it?
Yeah, that's mad.
Like, I mean, mad. Yeah. Okay, we'll say you didn't know what was going off in the time, but you hear a kid screaming. How old were you?
7 or 8, I'd say.
Yeah,
somewhere like that.
There's no chance. There's no way, like, you could justify standing behind a door when there's a kid screaming on the other side and then going boo. Like, there's no justification. I'm sorry.
He was one of these guys that was always like Jack the Lad. He was a joker and all that kind of stuff. So, but yeah,
brutal.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, that's horrendous. That'd have crippled me. That absolutely crippled me because I had a horrendous fear of the dark when I was a kid. Like unreal, you know.
Yeah.
We're talking pulling the pillow down from the top of the bed, so I'd be lower down, so I could have the covers completely over me.
Yeah.
With a little hole, so I could see the door handle.
Okay.
That is literally how I spent my nights as a kid. I had the most crippling fear of the dark. And I love it now. This is a crazy thing.
Yeah.
Did you ever used to do the thing where you'd turn the bedroom light off and run and jump onto your bed because someone was going to grab you?
Yeah. Oh, my bedroom light was above where my head would actually be. So I could literally flick it off, boom, I'm in. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Straight in. As soon as the lights... boom, I'm in, away. And it'd just be like that, and I'd just be dripping with sweat. You can imagine how hot it gets when you get in there, didn't care. Like, I'd just absolutely terrified of it.
Yeah, it was rooms for me. So, you know, like if you turn the light off when you're leaving a room to go upstairs to bed or whatever, if you came down for like a drink or something in the middle of the night, it would literally be a race for me to get from the bottom of the stairs up to the top because there was no light at the top.
And there's no denying that when all the lights are off downstairs, whether the landing light's on or not, you still, I feel, I do anyway, I'll be completely honest, still now, even in adulthood, you have that little bit of haste about you as you go up the stairs. Because you still, to this day, expect that hand grabbing the leg.
Yeah.
And you have to get up those stairs quick. And you know for a fact you are turning and looking down those stairs.
Oh, yeah.
You know you are. Like even to this day, I still do. Because that's, again, night terrors is what made me so afraid of the dark.
I get creeped out now. I'm a 32-year-old guy that owns my house. I should be on the I'm an adult scenario sort of thing. But no. And even now, I'll get up in the night to go to the toilet, and I just think to myself, I'll do it. I'll do it to myself. I'll think to myself, "Oh God, could you imagine if there's someone around the corner?"
Yeah.
And then I'll leave the toilet and I'll just dart for the room and close the door quickly.
that imagination again. That imagination. Like I think when you've suffered either from like bad dreams, night terrors, whatever, when you're a kid, or you've seen horror films that at the time like properly scarred you, like really stuck with you. I think when you have that active imagination, it never truly leaves you. So I expect to I'm always expecting to see something somewhere. It's like certain, depending on if there's like an open door behind you in a bathroom when you're in the, you're not going out your way to look over your shoulder in the mirror.
No.
Do you know what I mean? It's the little things that you deliberately don't do because your imagination is like, someone there, there's someone there, there's someone there. And there isn't, but on the off chance that there is...
Vindication.
Oh, you can't risk that though, can you?
No.
You just can't risk that.
When I hear Scarlett, my now soon to be 1-year-old, crying in the night, I am in fight mode instantly.
Yeah.
Even though she does it every night, she cries because she's hungry.
Yeah.
And I've got to get her a bottle on that. I'm instantly in that room. Like as soon as I hear it, I'm like, I'm gonna see something hovering over her, and I'm gonna have to fight some ectoplasm. Shit.
Like a horrible, encounter when Rue was young. Yeah. A story for another time. That one.
It is crazy the things that sort of you experience and growing up. One of the other things that even now, like I was saying before, my dad being the skeptic that he is, the one thing he always comments on was that when we were all little, he got up in the middle of the night to go to the toilet, and our bathroom used to have this giant mirror, like it was these big squared mirrors just over the whole wall, and he was using the toilet, and then he said he saw a kid run behind it because he could see in his side vision the door in the mirror, and he saw a kid run by the back of the bathroom, and he was like, "Oh God, one of the kids is out of bed again." So he turned around and checked on us all, and was all actually still in our beds. And he says, "Oh, I can't explain it, but it's not a ghost." I was like, "But you said, how can you say that wasn't real when you saw it?"
Everybody's in bed. Definitely was still one of the kids though.
Yeah. I remember when we was kids, we used to have this like dome light that was above the stairs, literally above the stairs. And we got up one day, and the light fixture had been unscrewed, and the fixture itself was sort of, it used to swing on a hinge. It would be on a hinge, and it was on its hinge because it had been unscrewed, and the bulb was missing, and it was found in the corner of the bathroom. And my mum and dad was just baffled because there's no way you can, like, one of us could have even got up there and unscrewed it. You need a ladder. You would have fallen down the stairs if one of us tried to undo it ourselves. So, I mean, that was one that was very peculiar. My mum and dad would hear every now and again very heavy footsteps going across the floor above. And they thought it was my brother, and then realised that he was still at work. And I remember my dad saying that they were so heavy you could almost see them on the ceiling.
Wow.
Yeah, it's mad because there's a lot of sort of reasons why a house creaks, and that you hear kind of footsteps and things like that. There's a lot of reasons, but when you know, you know.
Yeah.
There's times where I've questioned it. This house is a very old house. Like, I think it was like 1890 this was built.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know it's not a haunted house, but there are times where creaks happen, sounds are heard, and like I said, when I hear her crying, and even on a night vision baby camera, you see specks of dust fly up, and I'm instantly like, is that an orb?
Yeah.
But then there's loads, and I'm like, no, it's just going to be dust and stuff. It's a baby's room.
It's a congregation.
Yeah. But it doesn't stop you thinking that way. The first initial thought, especially when you've gone through something that you can't explain, your first initial thought is, here we go again.
Yeah.
And even though I can't remember most of the things that my mum talked about when she was on the podcast. I can't say that anything happened to me with the video that I've sent both of you to, and that you can still check out. I'll put it above as well. There was nothing bad happened. I remember that I spent 2 weeks sleeping downstairs though. And I was skeptical at that point.
Yeah.
But I weren't risking nothing.
Yeah.
Like there was no way I was sleeping in that room after I'd found out, even though I'd already slept in it a day.
For so long.
Yeah, I'd already slept in it that night that it went out, and it was the next morning that I noticed the comment saying, "Dude, look at your wardrobe door," and I was like,
it's too long.
Could have got me. You could have got me.
A full night in there is too long.
Yeah. I was like, if only I'd have seen this sooner. But no, speaking of the duvet thing though, I remember what I used to do was, did you ever turn your duvet around, undo the buttons, and slide yourself in like a human sausage roll?
No.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, so I used to slide myself in so that I could close the top up, so I was completely in the duvet.
No, that sheet on the outside, the actual duvet cover, too thin. That's too thin. I needed the protection of the actual duvet itself.
Oh no, I had the duvet above me.
Oh so no, still no. Yeah. No. I needed to be wrapped, encased. I needed to be cocooned. Yeah, no, I wasn't getting in.
I literally buttoned myself in.
No, it never happened to me. No, I never buttoned in. I never buttoned down. That's doubling down on the defence, that. But I was in my shell.
It's funny because my sister, when she moved out of mum and dad's house, when she had her first kid, she moved into these flats, and they used to experience a lot of creepy stuff in those flats as well. It was weird because there wasn't anything really you could. There was some really old creepy cottages that used to be there a long time before the flats, and my sister's one, no one else in the flat used to ever. I don't think they ever used to mention anything creepy ever happening, but my sister's was really, really haunted. She used to see a little boy in the flat, and she used to think it was her son, so she'd get really annoyed, thinking to herself I told you to go to bed, why are you still up, sort of thing. And she used to go into the living room where she saw him, but there would be no one there. And it happened on loads of occasions, and many people, her friends, had also seen this little boy in the flat. I remember she said that her and her friend were sat in the kitchen one evening, and they both saw this little lad run into the living room, and she's like, oh my God, I told you to go to bed. So she was really angry. She stormed to the living room. There's no one there. And they used to go out and come home, and the lights would all be on, and they would think someone had broken in when it first happened. But that sort of became a regular occurrence. And then my niece was born, and when she was about 2 or 3, possibly, she used to say she'd see an old woman in the flat. And once she was having a bath, and my sister was renovating the bathroom, and she said, "Mummy, where's the mirror gone?" And she says, "Oh, it's taken down or something." And she said, "Why?" She says, "I want to tell the old lady to go away." And my sister's like, "What old lady?" She's like, "The old lady." And she was sort of a bit perplexed and just sort of brushed it off, didn't really want to think much of it. And then another night, she was putting her to bed, and my niece said to her, "Mummy, who's that behind you?" And she turned round. There was obviously no one there. And she said, what person? She said, the person behind you. And she went like this, went all in white. And she was like, oh, it's just a bike I think you're looking at. And she's like, no, the lady behind you. So my sister sort of like kissed her goodnight, like, good night. but then left her in the room. I mean, I'd be like, maybe you sleep with me tonight.
No, she was just thinking, all right, bye. Like, get anyone. It's you first. you first.
I'm gonna get a head start out of this place.
Yeah, exactly.
She said one of the most terrifying experiences she had, because she said she used to experience these things a lot. Like she said she heard an old woman whisper to her a couple of times, and she used to see a little boy a lot. But she said there's this one time that she split up with her husband, and she decided to completely redecorate the flat. She tore her bedroom apart. She wanted to completely renovate it. So she was at the time she had pulled up all the carpet. She was sleeping on a mattress on the floor, and my other sister was sleeping downstairs because it was like a 2-floor flat. Yeah. And she said one night she got woken up, and by these heavy footsteps stomping up the stairs. And she said she was waiting for my sister to come in the room, and she stood there waiting, and the door didn't open. She's like, oh, that's a bit weird. But then suddenly she heard these footsteps in the room, and then something sit down on her bed. And she said then, as soon as this thing sat on her bed, she had this overwhelming feeling of terror, and she threw herself under the covers. And she said she was so scared she couldn't even grab her phone that was under her pillow to ring my sister, who was downstairs. She said it was just this feeling of absolute terror came over her, which she'd never experienced before in that place. And I don't know how long it lasted, but then eventually she rang my sister downstairs crying, like to come upstairs, because she was just that scared. But that was a very freaky place, because I used to babysit a few times, and I'd never walk around without turning the lights on. And when because she had bought the flat as well, she bought it from the council. So many years later, she moved out with her new boyfriend to live in his house that he owned, and they were going to rent it out as a second income. And I moved in for a time because it was empty and I needed a place to live. And even then, I was 20 years old, and even then, I still wouldn't walk around the house the flat without any lights on. There was something really horrible about that place. It used to give me the creeps.
What about danger as a magnet to you?
Me?
you actively chose to move into that place.
I know. I thought the thing was, it's like as an adult, you sort of become a bit like you rationalize things more. So I was like, I'll be fine. I'll move in. It'll be fine. It's just a place to live for a while. But yeah, it was not long before when I moved in. I used to just sleep downstairs all the time, and I'd never turn the lights on. It was always so cold in that place. So cold.
Yeah, it sounds horrible. I mean, the flat we used to live in was horrible as well. No, I'll be honest with you. It's that was, really, really nasty. There's some horrible experiences in that place. Definitely, it was not a nice place at all. So I don't know what it is about flats holding on to that negative energy, but yeah, that was a wretched place as well. Yeah, did not give good vibes at all. Nasty experiences.
These flats were full of. Let's just say undesirable people.
Yeah. Oh, trust me, we're on those lines. Yeah.
But we're all inclusive here on the SleepyTalk podcast.
We are. You know what I mean? No matter what type of person you are.
It can happen to anyone.
Yeah,
but,
anywhere.
But like I said prior to this, though, when you know. When you've experienced something like that and you've fully justified it, you can tell the atmosphere, or at least the atmospheric changes. Whereas people who are skeptical tend to not. They'll notice that it's gotten a bit cold or that it's just a bit weird, but then it's like there's an explanation for that. But when you're a bit more hypersensitive to
it's worse when you're older, isn't it? I mean, when you're younger, you take things at face value. You take it for what it is. You see somebody, you don't think, oh, it's a ghost. You're just like, hi, how are you? You talk to them. You don't think about it, do you? You're more
I don't think I ever had a conversation with any of the ghosts growing up.
No, I mean, you see it, don't you? Like with younger children and whatnot. Like with that, the whole who's that behind you? There was no fear. Yeah. There was no fear there. She's just like, who's that lady? I don't know her. Who's that woman? Who's that? But, we can't see this entity, you know what I mean? So it's just like, that's what makes it so much worse. And they're just like, it's fine. Who's this person who's in our house? I'm not worried.
It's
We're not
weird
worried about it.
because as I got older, I worked at a pub that wasn't far away from my childhood home, and I spoke to quite a few people that knew the area before it was houses. So my childhood home wasn't that old at all, which makes me wonder, like, well, why was it so haunted?
What was there before it?
It was just fields, apparently, like farmers' fields.
Really?
Yeah, and I want to say the house was probably built in like 60s or 70s, so it really wasn't that old, and it was just growing up, like, even because I said to my husband the other night, I said when I couldn't sleep, for some reason, I don't know why, I started to think about all the things that happened to me as a kid in that house from like supernatural standpoint.
Just came to you.
And it made me feel like I was a kid again. Like everything was still hyper real to me. Like the feelings I used to feel when I was a kid in that house, and the way I was so scared about going upstairs and the noises you'd hear. I mean, I remember one time I ran upstairs so quick and grabbed something that I wanted from my room. As I ran back out, I slipped and fell the whole way down the stairs.
Yeet.
Yeah. Send it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just accepted your fate.
Yeah. I was just, well, it could be
fear,
a
though,
Sixth Sense twist. So, maybe I was the ghost.
Yeah, you were Bruce Willis all along.
Don't you find it like really weird though how I'm just picking up on what you said when you felt like you were a kid again and all those feelings came back? When you have like joy, excitement, all these sort of positive feelings, we'll say, they're always a bit watered down when you revisit them. When you have fear, anxiety, like terror, sadness, they're always as bad. There's no sort of like dilution on them. So why is it that mentally?
I suppose it's that primal instinct. I suppose that it doesn't go away because I suppose
it's all we've got.
It's what we rely on for survival. So we need to.
Is what everything's built on. Everything. It's what drives you day to day. Do you know what I mean? Fear of everything is what drives you day to day. This is why we do the things that we do. It's what keeps human beings alive.
Yeah, just on a tangent, really, because there was something that I was reading the other day that the fear of spiders or arachnids in general is they believe it's in our DNA to be scared of spiders. So arachnophobia isn't an irrational fear; it's a natural fear.
That's weird though. Like,
maybe they were
where
a lot
does that
bigger.
come from?
Maybe they were a lot bigger back in the day, and they were much more dangerous than they are now. And dinosaur-sized spiders.
I mean, they say. I mean, they've had this discussion. Funnily enough, I've seen like some stuff on this discussion and why it can never happen. Why spiders cannot physically become bigger
because they don't have lungs
than the biggest spider that there is, and pretty much, mate, stuff like that. And they would have to evolve on a biological level, like on a serious biological level, to become big enough to actually become a real threat to like human beings.
I can't remember the terminology. It's been years since I did A-level biology, but basically they have pores that open up and close in their exoskeleton, we'll say, or skin.
That lets air in.
That lets air in, and just like gills on a fish, it filters out oxygen, blah, 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 comes in. They use that. So they'd never get too big unless the atmosphere was saturated in oxygen. And I mean like clumps and clumps and clumps, like too much for us to handle. So we'd die. So I think this is 70% nitrogen?
Yeah, well, oxygen is what kills us in the first place.
Yeah,
oxygen is what kills you.
We need it, but if you had 100% oxygen in a tank and started inhaling that, you would die.
That's why we grow old. It's why you wrinkle. It's why you get old. That's what the whole thing is. Dying of old age, as it was, is oxidation. That's what it is.
Yeah.
That's what you've died from. Oxygen poisoning.
So, but going back to the arachnophobia, obviously back in the day, and maybe more like South American, African sort of style spiders and things like that. You would be scared of them because there were no antidotes. There were no sort of thing. So spiders, let's say, not technically a spider, but what's it called now? You know, the one that was in the it played soldiers in the Iraq and Afghanistan war.
Oh, the camel spiders.
Camel spiders, yeah. So I think in Iraq they were worse than what they were in Afghanistan. So different sort of the same species but different temperaments.
Because they are wildly misunderstood, like surrounded by myth that they have poison and this, that, and the other, which is so wildly false. They're not poisonous at all.
No, but they can anesthetize.
They can bite.
Yeah, they can anesthetize an area, so they can sort of stop you feeling in a certain area, and they can have a little munch.
Lovely.
Yeah. Whereas I think it was, if I remember rightly, I got this from my uncle, so you know, when he was in Iraq, it was you put down talcum powder around your tent to stop like critters getting in. In Afghanistan, wasn't too bad. The camel spiders weren't that bad at all. So it was different areas, same spider. Well, not a spider. Sorry,
an arachnid.
Yeah, in fact, I don't even think they came under the same genus as arachnids.
Really?
I think they were. Yeah, they were like a false spider. So they're some sort of other thing. I could be wrong, but I know that they're not a spider.
If it's got 8 legs, which I can't remember if it does, it's an arachnid technically, because scorpions are arachnids as well.
Yeah,
mate.
scorpions
same family.
are.
Same family.
I think that my fear of spiders just came from watching Arachnophobia when I was a kid.
What a film!
That film scarred me.
Absolutely awesome film.
Yeah, but because we didn't have antidotes for their venom, because we didn't have certain things, it was built in. Like, say if you got bit by a tarantula, you know, you're not going to die, but you're going to be paralyzed for a bit. You're going to be searing in pain.
Yeah, it depends what kind. It does. It does. It really does. I mean, even like the biggest spider, the Goliath bird eater, the biggest, they are not venomous at all. But by God, is it going to hurt if it bites you? Like, it's going to hurt a lot. But it's not going to poison you. Like, and most tarantulas do not poison. Not enough, at least, to do anything to you anyway.
Yeah, the venom's specific to mice and small critters.
Things are very small, disposition,
Whereas your funnel web, the Australian one, they can, I think, even before they've even bitten you, their gland secretes this poison that can kill up to 30 people.
Starts to leak out of their fangs, and they are, for the record, prehistoric spiders. Then they have been around since dinosaurs. Funnel web spiders.
I don't understand how so many people want to move to Australia. Everything wants to kill you.
See, I'm
because it's not nearly as bad as they make out, mate. That's why, genuinely, because it's not nearly as bad.
They say in the cities you don't tend to find much.
Not really.
So it's all in the bush.
So I'm gonna say when you're in the outback, you're gonna get like a huntsman living in your mailbox. Do you know what I mean? But like aside from that, like I've had this confirmed as well. I might add by Australian people.
Yeah,
confirmed.
Right.
Like,
I mean, have you ever had that fight or flight sensation, like the feeling that completely takes over you?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I think the only time I ever had that happen was, I was decorating a house for filming, and I was there really late at night. I was always really uneasy about the place anyway because it was really creepy. And it was really windy, and I put some boards up against the window to try and stop some of the wind from coming in because the glass was broken. And I was on the landing wallpapering or painting or something, and the boards got blown off on the wind and crashed down with the most almighty crash. And I was alone in the house in the middle of the like really late at night, and it scared the crap out of me. Like, I can't even describe to you how bad it scared me.
That tip of your head to the tip of your toes rush through your entire body like that.
Tingle.
And the thing is, I knew it wasn't supernatural. I knew it was the wind. So I thought to myself, I'm just going to go in the room and check to make sure that that nothing's broken because I had equipment in there. Yeah. And as I stepped into that room, I had this feeling come over my entire body that almost, without me being able to stop myself, I nearly ran from the house.
Yeah,
I can't even tell you.
Yeah,
like the feeling that I had. It was the most. it was almost like my legs were on, like someone else was controlling my legs. I had to physically stop myself and go, just stop being stupid.
Yeah, like, hang
Stop.
on.
Yeah, because I tell you what, it was. I've never experienced that before. It was the most crazy, like the fear, the fight or flight was just.
It's insane how quickly it kicks in, isn't it? It's madness
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
how quickly
It's
it kicks in.
instant.
Like, yeah, that process of just like you could, when they say like everything, those classic like movie thing where everything suddenly goes into slow motion,
Yeah.
and you've got that moment to almost like, right, how am I going to go about this? Like, do you know what I mean? With yourself, that really is a thing. That
Yeah, it's because your brain's in overdrive at that point.
Yeah.
You're taking in everything, but you're only taking in the important things.
yeah, absolutely.
And the slow motion isn't actually like slow motion, but it
No,
is to you.
Of course it's
because,
not. Yeah. It doesn't happen
it is
to
you.
anything else. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
just to you in that moment. You feel like you've almost got way more time than you actually have.
But that's because you're processing stuff quicker than you usually would.
Rapidly, absolutely, to decide on how you're going to go about something.
Yeah.
Or is it that the Matrix is real and we all slow down ready to fight Matrix style?
Could be. You know what?
He's
I'm
beginning
not
to
disputing
believe.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
No, I think mainly I've had fight or flight quite a few times, but I think there's only like 1 or 2 times where I've had the adrenaline dump, where it's fully
it's like actually hit you.
I am Barry
So
Allen and I am the
overwhelming.
fastest man alive.
Hands start trembling like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I've definitely had that.
You have adrenaline surges and you have them at many points in your life, but there's only a few times that you literally have the fight for survival.
Yeah.
And you either fight, flight, or freeze, isn't it?
Pretty much, yeah, that is it. I mean, it is obviously, that is your fight or flight response, but freezing is definitely what a lot of people do as well, yeah. And just can't move, just locked in that moment.
I had a freeze moment that was stupid. That I was on a ghost hunt on Halloween night a couple of years ago, and was using a Ouija board. It was just me and my husband.
I'm out. See ya. I'm out.
It was
Nope.
It was me and my husband's sister-in-law and her boyfriend, and it was just us 4 in this tiny room with one entrance and 1 exit. And we set up these dominoes on this table and was using the Ouija board. Nothing was happening on the Ouija board really, but suddenly the table got dragged across the floor. So everyone else screamed and like headed for the door, and I don't know why, but I stood there and went just like that, and I like covered my head like if a serial killer just walked in here right now, I'm the first to die, because stupidly I thought covering my head would save me.
If I can't see it, it can't see me, right? That's how it works. It's worked since I was a kid. It works now.
That is exactly how it works. It's like, and that's what you said. Like, everything is so much easier for a kid. There's no fear.
Ghosts
They can't see it.
Because ghosts are T-Rexes, right?
Yeah,
stay completely same rule, right? If I stay completely still. Yeah.
That was the stupidest thing. Like, everyone else logically headed for the door, and I just covered my head.
Yeah, I'm like the cat that just somehow manages to climb the wall like up into the corner. I'm that guy, trust me. Like,
how the hell did you get on that roof?
I'm out. Yeah, whichever. If there's a hole, I'm through it. Like, I'm out there.
Just Spider-Man out of it.
Yeah, honestly,
like,
I'm
out.
Go. Yeah. I'm whipping out the window when everyone's going for the door. Yeah, better believe.
So yeah, you are a magnet to danger, as you've just confirmed once again.
The dots are definitely getting crossed with this conduit situation here. Yeah. Definitely.
I'm beginning to think that you're asking for it.
Well, I do like to go on ghost hunts and stuff like that. There was another time that I went on this ghost hunt. Ow, I just knocked the camera. I went on this ghost hunt, and we went, it was Loughborough Hall. I can't remember what the actual hall's called, but it was in Loughborough. And they decided to split up the men from the women. I don't know why. And all the men went to the attic, and all the women went to the basement. And the guy that was running it was a complete tool. And he decided to start screaming at the ghost, air quotes, of, we don't want anything nice coming through. We want horrible, evil spirits coming into this room. X, Y, and Z. Kept screaming, like, antagonizing the spirits, if you want.
This guy.
Yeah.
Seriously. And
Ooh, you're odd.
I'd be like, I'm gonna say someone's had a Coca-Cola, mate.
Who put 20p in this dickhead?
Chill out, son. Jesus.
And we was all around this table, and there was a guy that was facing away from me, and in this instant, his side of his face changed into this horrendous, angry-looking face that was staring at me. And I turned around to my husband. I was like, "Do you see that?" And he's like, "What?" I said, "That guy's face." And he was like, "Yes, you see it too." And this face was just staring, like burning evil, like anger into me. And at that point, I just had to say, "I need to leave the room for a minute." And everyone was like, "Why? What's going on? What's happened?" I was like, "I just need to leave the room for a minute." And it was terrifying, honestly. And I don't know if it was just because they were antagonizing it and he was showing how angry he was.
I think it's a combination between him antagonizing the spirit and then having been antagonized going, "Hey, there's that cursed fella."
We know him.
All those evil spirits instinctively hate this guy.
Yeah, hey, Magna.
Yeah, what's his name? That's the guy. Yes, I thought it was you. Yeah, I thought it was you, mate. Wanted posters all over the Netherworld here. This is mental,
looking at my dog's arse.
Honestly, this is crazy, man. Like, things definitely seem to really like you, don't they?
Honestly,
maybe,
yeah.
Mate.
Just maybe.
Mate,
This guy
mad.
was pure evil anyway. And I say evil on a loose term. Maybe, just maybe, like, this guy that you were looking at was a psychopath.
This is what I was going to lead on to, though. Like, obviously, I'm assuming that beforehand, you'd obviously chatted to the group. Do you know what I mean? Like, when you stood in those groups, I've been on, like, ghost walks and like, ghost-related group things before, and you kind of, like, stood around, aren't you? And I always take people in. I'm always that kind of person who, like, reads the room. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so I'm always scanning everybody. I'm taking it in. So had you, like, got a good look at this guy beforehand then?
Oh, yeah,
because
you know the weird thing was, that I forgot to mention, was that when I said to them that I needed to leave the room, they turned on a torch because they pretty much turned out all the lights. All the light that was coming in the room was from the moon, which was ironically, it was a full moon. And as soon as they turned this light on, his face disappeared and it became the side of this guy's face again.
Yeah, just actually sideways on. Just like he's just looking. Like, what's going on? Like, and obviously to you in that, like, moonlit darkness, he's like,
So maybe not even him. Maybe he had no idea what was going off.
No, this is the point, mate.
Yeah.
This is the point.
Yeah.
Something. This is absolutely what you're saying, man. That's not the dude who's standing there. He's not doing anything. He's just stood doing his thing, not knowing that this, like, spirit, if you will, is kind of almost like, you know,
projecting on his face
through him. Yeah, through this actual guy latching onto this dude and projecting through him. That's the thing, man. That's why it's so like.
It is weird because no matter.
Horrible.
I remember as at school, I used to talk to my best mate about all this kind of stuff, and he used to always just say to me, "Oh, why is it always stuff happens to you?" Like, and he used to make out that I was just lying all the time, and maybe it is that I just seem to attract all these.
Could well be a thing, man. I mean, obviously, if it's not actually affected you in a negative way, like physically, like, you know, you haven't been, like, attacked, as it were. Then I won't worry too much about it. You know, it's clearly not done you any, like, real harm, but you could well be, man. You could genuinely well be, like, a bit of a conduit. You do say that people who are, you know, have more of a predisposition to see and experience these things, then obviously spirits will go to you because they know they can.
Yeah.
As opposed to other people who are just like, you know, they're like, woo, and they're just doing what they're doing, you know, nothing.
Yeah.
I'm just really glad that this podcast is over an internet connection. Like, that's all I'm saying. That's like,
what? You don't want to sit in a room with me?
I expect my guy to be like, "Yeah, I'll come in. We'll go and do a podcast on each other." Do you like the shape of my Ouija board?
Well, I can see it. If it was in a personal setting, it's just like got some water, mate. Oh no, I spilt it on you. I'm so sorry. It definitely wasn't blessed. Definitely wasn't holy water. I'm so sorry.
Just cleaning your face.
One thing we forgot to mention was that when I was living at my childhood home still, because of all the creepy things that happened, I decided one evening, because my mum and dad went away for the week, that I'd set up a video camera in the living room just to see if I can detect anything that's going on.
Yeah.
And in the morning, obviously, I looked back on the footage, and there was a few instances where there was these bright lights that came on screen. There was, and the weird thing was that after each light, there was a pop in the sound, which I don't understand why it did that. Like there was almost like an atmospheric pressure in the room, and when the lights went off, it just peaked and then popped. And they're just really weird lights that one of them sort of starts at the bottom of the screen and then goes up and then explodes almost like a firework. Well, not that elaborate, but almost like this big cloud at the top. And there's another one where this light shoots across the back wall, like almost like lightning, and then one that looks kind of like a spine that curls in front of the camera and then disappears.
So yeah, I've seen one of them. So the one that I saw was, it was very strange. You'd expect, I think the way that I described it to you, Mr. Stitch, was it was almost as if the camera set on fire, let out a bit of smoke, and then had a pop after. Whereas you'd expect it to pop and then have a wisp of smoke. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was kind of the opposite way around, and it wasn't. It wasn't, look, as soon as you saw this smoke, then it popped. It was like there was a 1 to 2 second delay on the sound.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, obviously it kind of rules out it having like a bit of a fire issue, etc. Because it's the opposite way around, and like it's too delayed for it to be just the sound is catching up and sort of thing. And it was just, it is a weird one. But I haven't seen the good one. I had a quick look. So everybody else that's watching this, because it will be that way, yep, on the screen above us now. Me and James haven't seen all of these. I've seen one. James has not seen a single thing. So up until the podcast is released, he's not going to see anything. So,
well, if you want to hear something creepy, my dog is acting up quite a bit. It keeps staring at the door and wants to go out and then come back in and came straight to me, and she's acting very weird.
Maybe because you're talking about it. I remember.
It's happening in real time. Yeah, it's happening right now.
I remember a very, very old school friend of mine. He knew kind of like the stuff that happened when I was a kid, so that my mum knew about. Hello, doggy. We've got a doggo summoning. We've got
Doggos!
it. Yes, we've done it. Right, so I'm going to have to start paying for gas now, aren't I? No, so he knew about the childhood thing. My mum and his mum were quite close friends. And then he also knew about the cupboard door moving and things like that. And he said to me, and I always remember it, he said, the more that you talk about these things and the more that you talk about them, you'll give them more energy to do more things.
Oh, yeah.
He's not the sort of person that you'd expect to say things like this.
The more attention you pay to it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. The more attention 100%. You give to it, the more energy it can feed off and the more it'll happen to you. But again, he's not the sort of person that I'd expect to ever say anything like this. He's more of a lad, you know?
Yeah.
And then when he said that, I was like really creeped out.
I didn't know whether all the people,
you know, where it's like you don't expect that person to say, is it them that's saying it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's really, really weird.
No, I totally agree with that. I think as soon as you start talking about things like that, I 100% agree with that.
Yeah. Maybe you've just remagnetized yourself. I do apologize.
No, you've opened up my home.
Yeah.
Enjoy your night.
Yeah. It's all right. He's got a dog.
True.
Yeah. A good evening of Teletubbies now to calm myself down.
No, I genuinely believe that dogs and cats and things are good deterrents.
Oh yeah.
For things like that, if they do exist, because you know me, I'm still on the fence about it. I'm not as balls deep into it as what you guys are, but I genuinely believe that we don't deserve pets because they can deter a lot of things. And I think that the fact that dogs and cats are hypersensitive to things that we can feel but don't see.
Mm.
We've all seen it. We've all witnessed it in real life as well. Is where a dog or a cat will like hiss or growl.
Yeah, I
at
think
a wall.
I think to be honest, for me personally, if something is easily scared off by a cat's hiss or a dog's bark, you'd probably have been fine in the first place.
Yeah.
But from various stories from all over the world, if something's going to do you damage, it's going to do the pet damage. Like, it doesn't matter about hissing and barking. If it's in the way, it's going down. Do you know what I mean?
honestly think, though, I honestly think, though, that dogs have got a really bad rap when it comes to strength. Like, I'm not saying you've given it a bad rap. Dogs are powerful as hell. Like,
yeah, but not when something's ethereal.
Well, if it can hurt you,
there's no purchase. It can't buy
we don't
something
know this.
that's not there.
We don't know this, do we? We don't know. It could.
Well,
dogs could be underrated and could do it.
There's been no reported anything ever, to my knowledge, of a dog pulling at like invisible clothing. You
wouldn't know. It's invisible. You wouldn't know.
But somebody would see. No documented is what I said. Documented of people seeing the dog. Dogs aren't turning around and going, "Hey, oh, I'll tell you what, you know where you're out, I was biting onto these." That's not happening, right? It's a dog in it. So that's not happening, right? It's a dog. So no one has said, "Oh, I saw my dog doing this," is what I mean.
Well, I don't know. I've never researched that sort of point. I'm not disputing it.
No, definitely not.
Just saying.
Definitely not.
But I do think, generally speaking, though, the fact that they are a bit more sensitive to it than us and have a bit more of a natural instinct on these types of things, that maybe, just maybe, the reason that we don't see it and it's not been documented is because they can do it and these things know they can do it. I'm just saying, it's hypothetical.
Maybe. Perhaps. I don't know. Perhaps. But I mean, that link between, you know, seeing something and interacting with something, you know, I think it very much depends, because there are a lot of grown people, fully grown adults that can see spirits but not interact with them.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, you don't really see dogs interacting with anything, whereas you do see kids interacting in certain regards. Not all the time.
It's supposed to be how innocent they are, and they've not been told that these things don't exist. So they're not clouded by judgment.
Exactly that. Yeah, you know what is there the wall between reality, like, do you know what I mean? Like, their sort of view of reality is very, like, skewed. It's very, we know what reality is and we know what is real and what is not. Therefore,
we've got a cat summoning.
Therefore, you take that at face value. Whereas kids, like I was saying earlier, a kid is just, I can see it, therefore it's real.
Yeah.
You know, there's no filter there. There's no adult, grown up, oh dear, you've discovered what life really is filter. You know, just innocence, like literally, like you say, man. Yeah, just innocence.
Yeah. There's definitely a lot of discussion about sort of paranormal barriers and psychological barriers and mental strength and things like that when it comes to kids versus adults.
Yeah.
And there's two sides of the coin, really, for me. It's either that you develop a sort of barrier to this sort of thing as you grow older. Some people don't.
Yeah.
Some people have stronger barriers than others that they can use to see through. Or you just become ignorant to it. You look at a bush, and say you look at a bush, right? Your brain will take in 20 to 30% of that information, and it does fill in gaps as well. Your eyesight, your brain fills in gaps of stuff that doesn't exist. It's not there, but it'll fill in the gap. It's not until you focus on something, like truly focus on it, that you take in more information from it.
Of course.
So, if our brain has been, I can't think of a word to use, but if our brain has been developed to ignore these things, then maybe we've tricked ourselves into never seeing these things. And certain people haven't been told it's your imagination, it's that.
especially in the instances, if you're driving down the road in your car and you see someone walking on the pavement, you don't question whether they're real or not.
No, you don't.
It's true.
You don't drive down and go, oh, I wonder if I say hello to that person, it's going to keep walking because they're not actually here.
Yeah, that's really trippy. That.
In broad daylight, you don't drive down the road thinking he's real, he's not real, he's not real, he's real. Do you know what I mean? Like, you don't do that. Like, you could drive past a spirit who you could see just walking, just a person walking, wearing whatever. You see people wearing all sorts of clothing. Do you know what I mean? You could see someone walking down the street, not think anything of it, just drive past, maybe take a glance at them, keep on driving. They might not have even been real.
Yeah.
You just don't know. You just don't take it in.
That's really put me on edge now.
Never thought of that. Never thought of that, have you?
I haven't. Because I'm thinking, like, it's not just when you're driving.
You are welcome.
Big crowds of people you're walking through.
Yep.
You don't expect, especially now that like shows like Peaky Blinders and things like that have come out, and everyone's wearing old-fashioned clothes.
Mate, you just don't think about that kind of thing because you're ignorant to it. Humans. This is why the phrase "ignorance is bliss" exists, because you live in ignorance of everything. We live in ignorance of the fact that you can die at any moment of any day, but you don't walk around being scared of death because you're ignorant of it. Until it's right here in front of you. It's exactly the same with supernatural. It's exactly the same with so many other things. Humans are ignorant of everything until it's staring you in the face. And then you're like, oh, now I actually have to think about this.
And some parents still think it's not real. Even when it's staring them in the face.
Well, mate. It's one of those things, but this is it, It's one of those things you do, like ignorance is bliss, and that's why we get by, and that's why we just happily cruise through day to day, living your life, because so much of it, you just blank it out.
And I think, to be fair, ignorance is bliss is where I'm going to end it, because you have freaked me out with that last bit. You have freaked me out. Like, Stitch freaked me out with certain things. That, you driving down a road, you don't know that person's real. Oh, so
have a good night.
So I want to have a massive thank you once again to Mr. Stitch for coming back on the podcast, explaining a few things. Link to his YouTube will be in the description, and I heard through the grapevine, I saw it on Facebook, that you are coming close to the end of a film currently.
Yes, well, the final trailer is going to... Well, I'm working on the final trailer at the moment for it. And hopefully finishing up the final bit of dubbing that I need to do, and then it'll be finished.
Okay, yeah.
Awesome.
So, look out for that one. So I'll put a link to the channel in the description. And, go across, subscribe. He's got 10,000 already, so, Nearly 10,000. So be that person to just push it to 10k, and then enjoy this new trailer. That's almost done. Exciting time. So all the best for it.
Thank you.
And hopefully, everything's back to normal. We can go to a premiere of it.
Absolutely.
So we'll live stream from it. We'll live stream. So, and once again, thank you so much to Partisan Turbine 60 Foul.
Mate, thank you for having me. As always, it's been a blast.
Yep, so Twitch is BST now, not GMT, 12 till 4, Monday to Friday. Go check him out on Twitch. Yeah, link will be in the description. And once again, thank you to both of you for coming on.
Thank you, mate. No worries.
Giving me a good, enjoyable, freaky, scary, I'm going to bed now at night. And I hope to see you guys again soon. I know, Mr. Stitch is going to be a busy guy over these next couple of weeks. But hopefully we get some more Magnet stories from his new productions. Once again, thank you for watching. If you did like this video, then leave a like. If you really liked it, then subscribe. Go check out Mr. Stitch. Go check out PT64. And take care.